Fear. Do you ever wake up in the middle of the night sweating, or you can't fall asleep to start with because you're so worried about paying the bills or something that's happening in your life and you feel paralyzed? I think we've all had that. And I'll share with you something a mentor told me a long time ago that might be able to help you deal with fear and worry. I was actually in the garage, setting up a new library system because I got overflow from the house, and trying to find, I had a cool book on fear and anxiety from a neuroscientist, but haven't been able to find it. So I was in here looking, but figured I'd record this anyway. Maybe it'll help you. And I guess in no uncertain words, what they told me was you have to make fear the fuel that powers you. And psychologists have known forever that the two main drivers of your behavior are the quest and search for some kind of reward. For some people it's money, for other people it's adventure, drugs, sex, rock and roll, whatever it might be. But also, and not so distant behind the search for reward, is the movement away from fear and pain and worry. Sigmund Freud was talking about this in the early 1900s, and psychologists and scientists have confirmed this all the way up to 2016. And most people, for example, who are paralyzed by fear, who are up in the middle of the night trying to get away from something. So they're going, I have this sinking feeling I'm not going to be able to pay my bills, or that I'm stuck in a dead-end job that I hate, or I'm in a relationship with somebody that it's long since over and now you feel stuck. So they try to run. They try to run from it. And that's what fear and worry really is. It's your brain trying to compute how you can run away from this pain. And so you get fearful. In fact, that's why it's called fight or flight response. If we think we can't fight it, we try to fly away from it. The problem is, in the modern world, the world's very complex. So we live in a 7.3 billion person economy, for example. You're not gonna run away like you're a caveman away from the need to make money. So you end up being fearful all the time about money. That's how most people are. What my mentors taught me, one in particular, he basically said, you have to harness this fear to push you to plan and strategize instead. So when you're up late at night and you can't fall asleep, it's 2 a.m, instead of sitting there in a state of extreme panic, you start using that, because you're awake, right? You're like, dink, you're awake. So that's the fuel. Normally you'd fall asleep. If everything was going great, you'd just fall asleep. But now you have this new source of energy, which doesn't feel good. None of us likes to have that negative fuel fueling us, but you grab it and you say, where's my yellow pad of paper and pen? And you start mapping out a strategy that's gonna get you out of the current fear and worry that you have. And when you do this, it's amazing how your life starts to turn around. Very, very few people. I remember when I was, sleeping on a couch. People see me now and they're like, oh, you were born to rich parents. I'm like, no, I was born to a single mom. My dad was in prison when I was born. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. And I remember worrying, and I still have worry now, but I remember when I had a lot of worry, specifically about my future. And I was in a mobile home, sleeping on a couch with no college degree. So I was worried about my education. I was worried about what I was missing out on. I was worried about all my friends that were doing better than me. I was worried. I remember just thinking, is this it? This is my life right here, summed up, sleeping on a couch with no money and no future. Because you can live with no money, but you can't live with no future. When you don't have hope, things go downhill real fast. So as I began to talk to mentors, and they started saying, well, pull yourself out of this, man. Pull yourself out, because at the end of the day, there's only one person that cares about you a lot. There's only one person on this planet that has 100% of your DNA, assuming you don't have an identical twin. If you have an identical twin, there's 2 people, you and your twin. But if you don't have an identical twin, it's just you. It's you against the world. Now, you're going to make allies, you can have family and friends and all that, but at the end of the day, the buck stops with you. And if there's not a moment in time where you pull yourself up by your big boy pants. You know, you pull them up. You're your own belt. You're your own suspenders. I talk about that in the 67 steps. You got to be the belt and suspenders. And fear can be your greatest ally, even in many ways more powerful than the quest that you have for pleasure and reward. Pain, man, pain will move you. If you have a whole bunch of friends sitting around and you say, hey, let's get up and go, I don't know, go to this party. It's going to be super fun. That's pleasure. Most of your friends will get up. You know, if there's 10 people sitting there at the table, maybe 5 or 6 of them will get up for that reward. If you say the house is on fire, 10 out of 10 gonna move. That's how powerful fear and worry is. Nobody wants to be burned. And once you start using that to overcome procrastination, to overcome paralysis by overanalysis that is easy to fall into, especially now in the modern world, we're bombarded with stimulus. We're bombarded by stories of people being successful. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna become an author. Oh, this person's an entrepreneur. This person's in real estate. And all of a sudden, the next thing you know, you're paralyzed by you're not active and you're paralyzed, and you start procrastinating. You start, well, I need to research a little bit more about real estate. Oh, I need to research a little more about quitting my job. No, you can get that fear behind you. You get the fear of God, the fear of life. You get that put in a fire under your pants, you can get right up and you're gonna start experimenting, which is what you wanna do. If you wanna know if you should do real estate, start following a real estate investor around for a week. You'll know if there's no friction and you're super excited, more excited after 1 week, you probably got a knack for real estate. If you hate every second of it, it's time to move on to the next experiment. And people really struggle with this experimentation modality. I teach this a lot in the online business program that I have, the accelerator, and in the 67 steps. And I see people struggling over and over. And every once in a while, they ask me if I can help. You know, I'm not really a mentor myself. I talk about my mentors, but I say, all right, you want to know? Well, I'm gonna look you straight in the eyes and say, if you don't get off your ass, you're gonna be broke for the rest of your life. You're gonna be feeling this pain that you feel staying up late at night. You're gonna be feeling it for a long time. Do you want that? Okay, then let's get out here and run an experiment. Let's get out here and start investing in ourselves. Let's pick up a book. Let's find a mentor. Let's go to some conferences. Let's go to some seminars. Let's pay some people to help us. By the way, a little side note, people underuse that tool. They pay for a Subway sandwich, but they won't pay for knowledge. I'm like, are you stupid, man? A Subway sandwich at best fuels you for 2-3 hours. Most of it is junk food. And you'll pay for that willingly, but something that'll fuel you for a lifetime, you're trying to argue with me about, well then go ahead. You need a little more pain in your life. And for those of you watching who go, I can see that, but I don't really see that, let me warn you, guess who you're turning into your teacher? There's 2 teachers. There's the teacher you want. That's the nice teacher who kind of tutors you and go, oh, okay, you need to learn this, let me help you. And then there's the badass teacher. That's Mother Nature. I call that the teacher of last resort. You know what that teacher uses? Extinction of your hopes and dreams, uses massive pain, it uses trauma. You wanna learn what trauma? There's a teacher waiting outside. I always think, you know, if I'm here in the garage, I'm looking for a book, I'm like, let me find those teachers. Those books there, they teach me nicely, because right outside that garage door is a teacher that doesn't give a shit about how I feel and is ready to drop the pain. In fact, maybe is a little sadistic. And most people's lives, 20 years later, regret fuels them. But it's too late, because some things you can't do 20 years later. Warren Buffett always says, living a good life later. So when you're young, be like, I'm gonna do this job, I don't really like it, but you know, I'm gonna save up so in 20 years I can do some cooler stuff. He said, that's like getting married and waiting 20 years to have sex. He's like, I don't recommend it. You gotta do some things when you're a little bit young. And whoever, you know, I don't know your age watching this, but I do know you ain't getting any younger, so better late than never. So jump on the train, take your fear, take your worry next time late at night, sit up in bed, turn the lights on, grab a notepad, and start strategizing as if you're the general in your own army, the army of your life. And you start planning the troops, how they're gonna move. Now, it ain't gonna change overnight. You dig yourself in a ditch, Mother Nature's teaching you a lesson. Sometimes you gotta go through the lesson, but if you don't start strategizing and planning, that lesson is going to go on forever. That's the nasty thing about Mother Nature. The lesson never stops. You put your arm over a fire, Mother Nature keeps burning you. It doesn't go, well, you learned enough and let's extinguish the flame. No, pain keeps coming. You stay broke, you're going to get more broke. Trust me. We live in a world, I don't know why, well, there's many economic factors, but the poor get poorer. When I was poor, I got poorer. I had nothing to invest in myself, so it became a chicken and an egg rat race to the bottom. You don't have money to invest in yourself, therefore you don't go forward. You don't go forward, so you don't have any money. Then you can't invest in yourself, and it's a vicious spiral down. And I've also seen a little bit of success. When you start seeing a little success, oh man, then everything gets a little easier. It's a lot easier to fall asleep at night. Warren Buffett says he can't sleep good at night unless he has $20 billion in cash. Now I read he has $40 billion in cash. That's gonna put you to sleep. A lot of worries go away when you know you have $40 billion in cash. Now, not all of them, but some of them go away. And it's not all about money. It's about living a good life. So maybe this tip will help you. Use the fuel. Don't fear fear, but fear not using fear. What's your biggest fear? Let's do a little survey. Leave a comment below. Right now, my biggest fear in life, my biggest fear, to add to my comment, my biggest fear is probably, oh, and by the way, leave a comment, because I'm gonna pick the best comment, the one that's the most thoughtful, and I'm gonna start giving away entrepreneur tools. So leave a comment and I'll reply to your comment if you're the winner, and I'll give away maybe an iPad mini or something, an Apple Watch, something like that. So I'll do that for this video. So leave a comment below. Leave a thoughtful one. It doesn't have to be super long, but don't have a stupid one that adds value to your life. I'd say for me, my biggest fear now is learning too slowly. That petrifies me, man. Something take me a year, then I look back and I'm like, crap, I could have learned that in 2 weeks. What did I do with the other weeks? Just wasted that. I don't mind putting in time, but shit, I don't want to put in more than I have to. So that's right now my current fear. So I'm all about cutting the learning curve. That's why I spend so much money every month on coaches, mentors, tutors. I probably spend $1 million a year on that right now at my current pace. 50 to 100 G's a month, easy. Because that fear, now, I couldn't always do that. Many years ago, I couldn't even spend, $1,000. But now I'm less afraid. Maybe I'll lose all my money doing it this way. But to know that I'm cutting the learning curve is worth it. It's worth it. To me, time trumps money, because time is harder to get than money. You can lose money, gain money. You can go broke, get rich again, go broke again, and be back to rich. That happens all the time. But what you can't do is be young, get old, be young again, be old. No, hell no. You're gonna visit the grave first. As Charles Barkley says, Father Time is undefeated. So what's your biggest fear? And I'll see if I can find this book here. Maybe I'll do a video on the book. All right, signing out from the garage. Talk to you soon. Leave the comment. I'll announce a winner here soon.